Good morning. I'm so glad you're here with us. We're going to have a great day today. We have so many good shows coming up for you over the next few months. We have them all lined up, so I'm really looking forward to sharing more with you about that. We'll do that at the end, but I want to talk a little bit about how important we all need to understand our, well, I'm going to go into the HSP in a second, but I'm going to let our guest do that. There's just so much we have learned, and we have a lot of good guests coming on today that are going to help us with that. You know, we all know how important it is to have our core beliefs and our core values and strengths really aligned with our vision. So that's what we're going to talk more about today. But we have someone that's going to come on today that really knows a lot about these core strengths and these core values. Now, I can tell you a little bit more about her, but I think I'm going to leave it to her to tell you a little bit more about her, because she is none other than Miss Clare Kumar.
Good morning.
Good morning, Clare.
So happy to be with you.
Well,
Do you want me to?
So glad you're on.
Do you want me to dive right in and give a little bit about this alignment of vision and what my vision is?
Absolutely.
All right. So noticed it throughout my whole career, both corporately and now as an entrepreneur, that my goal has been to make the world a more comfortable place for human beings, human animals, so that everyone can give their best gifts to the world, that the environment is there to support them doing that. And so that's my big mission now. And it's just followed through everything that I've done, through organizing in people's homes, and now speaking about productivity and coaching one-on-one and working as a brand ambassador. So all of those things are aligned to drive to creating those safe, happy spaces that invite our best performance.
Awesome. If you want to hear more, we can talk about that. But before we go there, I want to ask you, Clare, can you tell us, when is your first that's a hard word to say, first recollection of knowing your vision?
Knowing the vision, I think, probably came a few years ago, sort of crystallizing this, what Tamsin Webster, the author, would call the red thread, what's been through your life. And Judy Carter's book, The Message of You, sort of helped me crystallize, going back through my life and looking for examples of what I was motivated to speak on, think on, act on. And I realized, whether I was in a corporate environment lobbying the president for better ergonomics, or lobbying the COO for reduced work weeks and flexible work weeks, or now having leadership workshops and talking to people about raising compassion and empathy and including more neurodiversity in their inclusivity strategies. All of this became apparent a few years ago when I connected the dots, and that then informed, gosh, how am I going to show up and serve if that's my natural inclination? I'm never going to get tired of it.
I love it. If you want to hear more, stay right there. What's going on? Ah!
Yes, exactly.
Wow, Claire. Yeah, so I love what you've said. So yeah, we want to dig in deeper to that. But before we do that, I also want to let the audience know to go ahead and put in a hashtag live if you're listening in live. Put in a hashtag replay if you're listening to the replay. And as always, put a picture of you winking in your timeline. And when you wink, I want you to understand how important it is to know what makes you unique. So if you can understand what makes you unique, then you're going to be able to do much more with that. You're going to be able to serve other people. So thank you for that. So Claire, I'm so glad you joined us this morning. This has been phenomenal. So tell me a little bit more about, you told us a good amount about your story, but how did you end up here? How did we end up together?
How did we end up together? Well, we
Yeah.
were lucky enough to connect through a fellow speaking colleague, right?
Mhm.
Who as we're working always to grow and build our skills as speakers. So we connected through a group, a small group of people willing to do and invest in that with Scott Carley. So
Mhm.
that's been pretty wonderful. The
Yeah.
journey to become a speaker is really around recognizing that, hey, I love it. So, doing something you love is part of I think what makes a fulfilling life, and using your authentic skills to serve others. That's my definition of success. If you can keep giving, you keep getting. And so it's sort of that journey that I think brought us together.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's been great. You're definitely somebody that a lot of people need to know. So, I guess from my perspective, from our perspective, in order to learn more from you, what do you think the biggest factor in your success is?
The biggest factor, I think, well, I'd say this comes down to my HSP nature. So you can see in my description there, it says HSP executive coach,
Yeah,
right?
what's that all
So,
about?
yeah, so HSP stands for highly sensitive person. Clinically, it's also known as having sensory processing sensitivity. Now, I'll explain what that is just briefly, and how it connects to what I choose to do and how it shows up as a gift in what I do and how I think it makes me good at what I do. So the highly sensitive person is someone with a trait. It's not a disorder. And so it's interesting in my work around inclusivity and neurodiversity. We look for labels often before we think about how we can help somebody. And one of the big messages or things I would invite you to think about is not looking at labels, but kind of even understanding someone's preferences, whether they're introverted or extroverted. And this HSP trait exists in 20% of people. It's imagine your nervous system is highly responsive. The word sensitivity is not for everyone. I think it's a superpower, but some people are like, well, I don't want to be called sensitive. That's not a compliment to me. So it's when you understand the gifts of it, it is. So there are 4 elements to the trait. And this is work by Dr. Elaine Aron. I can show you, this is the 25th anniversary edition of her book that came out in 1996, The Highly Sensitive Person. So new hardcover edition with a new foreword. And Elaine is, she's the person who really developed the acknowledgement, research, and sharing of this trait. And I'm really committed to furthering that, because while it affects 20% of people, a very small percentage of people know about it. So this is why, thank you, Brian, for this opportunity to kind of bring awareness to it. Now, those 4 traits, 4 elements to the trait that are really important to understand, go with an acronym DOES. So DOES. I always like to think of it as does and think of a pretty deer in the forest, but does works as well. So D stands for depth of processing. We are your deep thinkers. We are the people that need to get a concept and kind of sit with it. We are the people that will watch a movie and don't ask me right away what's going on, because I'm still thinking about that movie as I leave the theater, and maybe for a while until I get home. We are the people who would also be probably subject to analysis paralysis and potential overthinking. So there's a continuum of strength to superpower in that one element. O stands for overstimulation. And because our nervous systems are on, I liken it to, thinking about a meerkat. You can think about a meerkat. It's Timon in the,
Pumbaa,
yeah, the Lion King.
the Lion King,
And
yeah.
so on alert, actually looking around, smelling, sniffing, is there a predator? Is there somebody coming to threaten the mob? While everybody else is playing, eating, relaxing, doing their meerkat thing. But that one meerkat who's on guard has a full belly, is doing their work, and then they're going to take a rest afterwards. If you're a highly sensitive person, you don't necessarily get to take the rest that you need in the day. We need a lot more downtime. We need restrooms to be restrooms. Is one of the things I encourage, more rest spaces at work and even in urban centers where people can really actually catch some quiet space. So overstimulation is something to be well aware of.
Hmm.
E is a beautiful one. It's for two things. It's emotional reactivity. So that can be, you can imagine, it can be useful, and it can also be why someone bursts into tears and you don't understand why necessarily. They're emotionally very responsive. But it also stands for high empathy. And if we've learned anything in the past 18 months, we need a whole lot of empathy to get through what we're going through and ongoing. So high empathy, an absolute superpower, part of the trait. And then S is sort of the corollary to the overstimulation. It's that we're sensitive to subtle stimulation. So we can notice things that other people might miss. We might notice in a meeting room full of executives, for example, somebody in the corner there was a facial expression that shifted, and somebody was hurt or off put by a comment. We can pick up on this kind of energy shift and emotion shift. And so strength and superpowers all combined, these show up in my coaching. They show up when I'm presenting and I can read the room and dance with the audience. We have more mirror neurons than the average person. And so that makes us really great at being a dance partner. That's what I say the coaching is. It's like we've got to dance together. You're going to pick the music and I'll follow your tempo, but we're going to dance together, and you want a good dance partner.
Wow. So how did you learn all this?
Gosh, well, a lot of reading Elaine's book, and then there's now other researchers and books on the topic, and there are groups on social media and people to connect to, and it's also sort of tapping in and sort of taking those four elements, if you will, of the trait and doing a lot of self-reflection and just sort of owning it, and then having discussions with other people. Every talk I've given, I think in the last 5 years now, I talk about high sensitivity, and I say, show of hands, how many people knew about this before? Very small, maybe 5%. Mm-hmm. How many people think you might be HSP? And depending on the group, when I talk to my organizing and productivity professionals, it's well beyond the 20% that is proven to be in the regular population. So it's out there. You all know someone, or perhaps this is you're identifying with this trait yourself and saying, that's me. One thing I'd love to share is there is a self-test on Elaine's site, and Elaine's site is hsperson.com. And it's a very quick site. You don't have to subscribe to anything. You don't have to wait for a download. It's basically you answer 27 questions. And if you get 23 of them saying yes to them like I did, then you're an HSP.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very simple. And it's a self-test, which is really reliable. This is really just about you. And what's wonderful about it is once you understand this is the way you are, you can then start to ask for what you need. And so part of my goal around awareness is twofold. Number one, it's to say to other HSPs, if this is you out there and you can recognize this, you can harness your talents. You can also ask for what you need in your environment to make sure that it keeps you successful. So that's the opportunity number one. Opportunity number two is to talk to leaders to say, if you want to be really having some of these bright minds at your table, we are people that perform better than average on performance reviews, but will exhaust and head towards burnout also faster than ever. So if you want to take care of these people, it's the canary in the coal mine kind of thing. You want to take care of this incredible resource that you have. You want to be paying attention to not only the environment, but the culture you're creating that invites someone to take rest. How many people would give you side eye if you popped into the sleep room in the afternoon? Right. So if we have
Oh yeah.
leaders saying, you know what? Oh, I took a power nap this afternoon. You're looking tired. The room is available. What if we embedded rest and well-being and taking care of human animals into our physical structures and into our culture?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's awesome because I mean I find myself doing the same thing, needing a rest in the middle of the day. So, but speaking of social media, we have some friends online with us. We want to say hi to them. So here's Randall Reeder. He's on. There is Randall watching from Denver Airport. Wow, that's impressive. Who else do we have on? There's Linda Kazera from West Virginia. That's nice. Good morning, Linda. It's good to see you this morning. And then we have another one, and that's Renee Vior.
Go, Renee.
Yeah, 15-minute
Yeah.
power nap. I might say 30-minute power naps, but that's okay.
You know what? Exactly. So I would say for the power nap in the afternoon, set an alarm so you're not going into REM sleep and kind of waking up groggy. If you are going into REM sleep within 30 minutes, that's a sign that you're not getting enough at night and your body's
Yeah.
like going, give me some, give me some.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a brain cleanse. The lymphatic system is actually giving yourself, like, I think of like a car wash, and it's cleaning out the brain so you can actually think much more clearly afterwards. It's a total power tool. But our friend that's in the airport, I was in Munich airport recently, and they had sleeping little room that you could book. They also had lounge chairs out, and I actually found a bench that I could lie down on completely flat. Hello, airports. Why do you put armrests in your waiting stations? Let people lie down if they need to,
Right.
and actually sleep. So airports are a place I always look for the place I can properly sleep and do some yoga. I think every airport waiting lounge is a perfect place to do some yoga stretching.
Wow. That's a great idea. I'd never thought of that.
I know. I've done it in so many places. The last place I did yoga was a Costco lineup because the store changed their hours and they weren't open at 8. They were opening at 9. And I said, okay, you know what? I missed my workout because I thought I would be here early. I'm going to take it right now. So so as an HSP, the encouragement there is for anybody is to see what you need and go claim it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, doesn't that go for a lot of life, really? I mean, just see what you need and go claim it.
I think so. And if we have an environment and a world that creates those happy spaces for us, then it's going to be easier to connect with that with less struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. So Claire, you seem to have so much going for you in terms of HSP and knowing yourself. Obviously, there are still some obstacles or challenges you're still working through.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of those?
Oh, sure. I think one of the biggest ones is choosing between really great things you can do. So I take this example from I remember my daughter, she was about 9 years old, and she was distraught because she got invited to 2 birthday parties on Saturday afternoon. And it's one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs and for even people in the corporate world is prioritizing when there's a lot that you could do and it's all feeling like it's all got to be done. And so that's something I still have a challenge with, although I've become a lot better on honing my skill to go from FOMO, the fear of missing out, to JOMO, the joy of missing out, and being able to let go of things. So that's a constant journey. The other one I'll say is, and I've been working on this for several years. I'm just about to write the pocket guide to playing graceful defense. It's setting boundaries in such a way that you're able to claim what you need and leave everybody else feeling very whole and respected. So that's a superpower. If we look at the blurred boundaries that have been out there since more people were working from home and that definition between work and home life wasn't so clear, our ability to turn off at the end of the day and reclaim that personal time is paramount to not burning out. And so practicing language to say, that won't work for me. Or Brene Brown's got a short 5-minute video where she talks about the most boundaried people stay the most compassionate because you don't let resentment build. So if you can practice this way of asking for what you need with grace, it's going to unlock so much for you to be able to thrive and continue to really be generous with what you do.
Well, I would love to, after this, after we're done here, post in the comment section, and I can do that, or you can, that video of Brene Brown.
Yeah, I'll find that. I'll post it for sure. It's such a good thing. I share it with a lot of coaching clients because a lot of us feel like it's very difficult to ask for what we need. It's uncomfortable. It's far easier to say yes. And then we carry this, oh, what have I signed up for? And we maybe defer a decision or we don't have it and we compromise and we burn out. So I think it's a power tool in the prioritization, first of all, getting clear on what you want, and then being able to articulate it in such a way that you're not thinking, oh, the way I asked for that, I need to like recover my relationship because I've damaged it because I came out swinging a stick. Or I made someone else feel uncomfortable. And so honestly, I'm still working on it. There are moments when I nailed it. And there are moments when, there's some learning in there that I need to pursue.
Hey, no, that's all right. Nothing wrong with that. Another friend of ours is on here, Wes Wyatt. Good morning, Wes. Good to see you.
Hey, Wes.
He's a great guy. Anyway, so you must have moments where you don't see everything you're supposed to be seeing. So you have blind spots, right?
Oh, we all do. Yeah.
Yeah. So who helps to see your blind spots?
Oh, my daughter. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. She's this wise being. She's 18 years old.
Oh, no. Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's been wise since she was an infant. She's like, she has incredible noticing skills, incredible natural talent at word crafting. And those two things together will, one particular example was my mom and I love her to bits. We tend to have better interactions when we're over the phone than sometimes in person. There are things that she'll do that trigger my reaction. And we were talking, the three of us about it. And I was talking about some of the things that trigger me. And my daughter pipes up, well, you do that too. I'm like, oh, well, what a gift. What a gift. The way she does things. I mean, I gave a presentation once, and this was in France after jet lag. We just arrived, taken the train from Paris to Chartres, and I was speaking at this international school in French, which is the first time I'd given a French presentation.
Oh, wow. Did
it 3 times over, 1 hour after the other. And my daughter says to me, Mom, you started really strong.
That's not always good.
Well, she's totally implying the obvious is that it just went like you could see my brain was slowing down by the 3rd hour, right?
Yeah.
But what a natural talent in a way to deliver a message, right? Yeah. So just natural. She was 16 at the time, right?
Really?
Just thinking, wow, no, 15. She was 15. So yeah. So there's a lot to learn and grow. And she's somebody. And then even, all of my workshops, I just gave one last week as a leadership workshop, and we were talking about bias and exploring bias and dialing up empathy and compassion, all of those things. And one of the leaders towards the end of the session said, I have to think about this. I'm not getting it. If I need something, I just ask for it. And I said, well, have you ever been in a situation where you feel vulnerable? She's like, what are you talking about? Like, have you been bullied? I've been bullied. So I draw on that. Have you ever been harassed? And I've been harassed. So I draw on that. And I realized, wow, I'm expecting people to have lived experience that they can draw on to relate to the need to have empathy and compassion at work. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, I do think there's an element of luck and privilege in her experience, but it also illuminated my own bias that how can you not see this? So it was interesting when you come up to something that's stumping. It's this moment, I call it dancing in discomfort or staying in the noticing. What's it what's it when you're getting a judgment, feeling a judgment towards somebody else? What's it telling you about yourself?
So what did you do with that person?
Well, I invited her actually to book a free session with me. I have always chatwithclare.com. If you want to talk about something, I have 15, 30 minutes and so on. I've invited you to book some time with me, then definitely I wanted her to be able to explore that. And when we went on to other questions that were coming up in the group, but I think it was very illuminating to everybody that some people were like nodding and there was visible resistance that, of course, as an HSP, I could pick up from the little square boxes of the Zoom room. And I was, you know what I was watching last night? Mr. Rogers, the film about Mr. Rogers. And I thought, oh my gosh, highly sensitive guy, highly empathetic, pure examples of the coaching model of leadership and interaction. I was just like, oh, I was just eating up what he was doing. It was so powerful. I haven't watched the whole thing, so I don't know where it all goes. But just, I thought there are people that get it, and there are people that are somewhere on their journey to understanding how this can fit in and be a wonderful approach.
Yeah. So how does that make you feel when you get with someone and you get them to understand more of what it means to be in tune with being an HSP or something at least closer to that?
It's that deep gratification, those aha moments that if I can inspire those somehow through one-on-one conversation or groups. I love both of those forums because I always say it's quality over quantity. The speaking, if I have an opportunity to influence a lot of leadership thinking, there's massive impact or the potential for massive impact. But you don't know necessarily unless you get one-on-one feedback, sort of confirming that something landed and they're going to act. So finishing up every presentation, it's like, what's the one thing you're taking away and going to do out of our time together? So if anybody's listening in the chat and something's resonated with you, that is the ultimate fuel. So I live for that.
So if you would, audience members, please tell us in the chat what you may have gotten from this. We have a few minutes left, but I really appreciate your time this morning, Claire. This has been awesome.
Can you tell I love talking about it? It's like, it's just so, this is the sort of the alignment of both personal mission and professional objectives, because so my background expertise has really been in productivity and well-being, those two together. Now I'm really inviting highly sensitive people to work with that group, in large part too, anybody with ADHD or who's on the spectrum, or who, there are a number of challenges and disorders, anybody with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, all of these people fall into the highly sensitive area, whether it's the trait or whether it's situational or been induced somehow. So I've created a Facebook community that I would love to invite people to join if this resonates with you. Yeah. It's for people who recognize and identify as HSP, who want to thrive, and for those who want to better understand them, love, and support them.
And that is that this?
That's that. It's the happyspacepod.com. And the Happy Space podcast is coming in February. I'm just working on getting the launch plan for that together and inviting. This is going to be fun because it's going to be looking at exploring these strengths and superpowers that we have more deeply. But also I want to interview business leaders who have created that culture that invites this performance. I want to interview the design community that's influencing the creation of those rest spaces at work and calmer environments in which the highly sensitive person can really think. It's like, we don't necessarily want to go into those phone booths. If I want to think, do I need to go into a dark booth? No, we want to have actually more opportunities for light and deep thought. So all kinds of conversations there, and to also highlight highly sensitive people who have found ways to thrive. So Alanis Morissette is one example. She's been well known as a highly sensitive person for some time. So it's looking for those examples of people who have sculpted and shaped their lives so that they can really let themselves sing, no pun intended.
That's good. I love it. And so we can also get more information at clarekumar.com, correct?
Yeah, that's my website. You'll find out more about me and speaking and coaching and all that good stuff there too.
Okay, so we do have a comment here from Wes. He really likes the thought of examining thoughts you get about other people. So that's good.
Awesome, Wes. Thank you. Yeah, it's when you feel like you might be judging something, it's like, wait a minute, how am I not just accepting that's what's here? If I'm judging it, what does that say about me?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an opportunity.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for being on, Claire. I really appreciate this.
Oh, my great pleasure, Brian. I love what you do, and your energy is off the charts. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you. Claire, would you hang out in the green room for me while I close out the show?
You bet. And thanks everyone for listening.
Is there anything you would like to leave the audience with at this time?
Just that opportunity, that invitation to say, sensitivity is sexy. This is a really real superpower. So don't be afraid to understand what this is for you and to really figure out how you can channel it in service of others, because it's really an incredible gift.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll see you soon. All right. Wow. Sensitivity is sexy. I had no idea. Oh, Clare Kumar, what a great guest we had. We've got another great guest coming on next Monday, and that'll be Michelle Villalobos. Michelle Villalobos has an organization where she talks a lot about coaching and helping people and really having what she refers to as a big back end. So more of the business side of things from that perspective. So tune in next Monday. There's going to be another great show, much like the one we just had today. Woo! Wow, we've got a great lineup, and I'm looking forward to doing more of this and sharing more with you. But if there's ever anything else that I can do for you, just let me know. I would be happy to help. And then, as always, keep one eye on the road. Talk to you soon.